When I was a kid, it was unbelievable here. I can remember like back to 1971, I was 6 years old, and I was casting cast nets in ditches catching mullet to eat. I mean, that's how clean the water was back then. It was almost like the ocean. The water was clean. We had more populations of fish that you could shake a stick at. One of the main reasons that the Indian River Lagoon system is so near and dear to my heart is, I walked away from working on the space shuttle, and being a rocket scientist. I worked on the space shuttle as a quality control inspector for flight control systems, and I started guiding quite a bit, and my guiding turned into my career rather than working on the space shuttle. Into where I made my bread and butter, and that's all the fish. Up there is my prize trout. It's actually not the real trout. I let the real one go, but 34.5 inches is what the trout was that I got, and that was 1 pound away from the world record at a time.
Everything I know comes from hanging out with him, because he's literally a walking encyclopedia. He's been on the water my entire life.
Oh, there you go. Hey, you're in that picture. Technically, you're in that picture. It's you pregnant with him holding the bass. Hey, and there you are, a little bit later. You're about the same size as that black drum.
When it comes to his home, he's super passionate about taking care of it, preserving it to the way that it used to be, because you can go anywhere up and down the river, and he's got a story for any spot.
We'll see some guiding days. This is up where I was, actually where we have a lot of the clam beds now, because that part of the river is so bad. I think you can even see the grass mats back here floating in the back. This was up, I remember that day, where they were all around the bombing target. But this is up just on the north side of Adams Bar. Where
we used to go clamming on
Sundays?
Sundays?
Where we used to go clamming on Adams Bar. As I was, getting my captain's license and becoming a seasoned, veteran fishing guide, the commercial clam industry came in the 90s and absolutely just devastated our bottom, our clams. I think the estimate was 9.2 billion clams that were taken out of our estuary here in the Indian River Lagoon. And I noticed that the more clams came out of the water, the dirtier the water got. I figured that was the first thing that had to be put back in if the water's bad. Our project gives the clams a head start, and when we get the clams back in the river, we'll have our water clarity back, which will bring our seagrass back.
Water clarity is kind of the key to the Indian River Lagoon right now. The importance of clams in the Indian River Lagoon, to me, is tremendous. Ecologically, they're part of the food web. As they spawn and reproduce, these guys are food for everything. They're also really important because they provide this filtration. And we saw a whole ecosystem collapse because of an algal bloom. But it was the effects of the algae that really made that catastrophic. There was a time when the lagoon looked kind of like this, which is pretty scary. I mean, this is an extremely concentrated culture, right? So to see something like water with a very, very low light penetration like this would be kind of like an algal bloom. The algae bloom was so dense it shaded out the sunlight that was penetrating down to the bottom, and therefore the seagrasses died. And that's really the foundation of the Indian River Lagoon system. Without those seagrasses, nothing survives. Our Indian River Lagoon is basically dying from 1,000 cuts. And that was the deepest cut that I saw that changed our water quality, because it was the only filtration that we had. Our tidal system here is so unique, we don't get flushing in and out like most estuaries do twice a day with tides. So it's a kind of a never-ending story of dismay if we don't break that cycle. And all the fishermen that are out there, guys like Captain Blair, who are on the water every day, are saying, hey, we're not seeing clams anymore.
As just a fishing guide, I really didn't have a voice or to get in front of the right people to talk to. I was, on the water 7 days a week, and, the people that I did try to get in touch and talk to, they were like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, you're just a fishing guide. And eventually, after my TV show, Addictive Fishing, got to be a popular TV show, I was able to get in touch with the right people and put things together, and that's basically how we started this clam project.
Can you describe to me your dad and Dr. Todd's relationship?
Yeah, two surfer bros who want to save the river.
Dr. Todd, if you've never met him before, you take one look at him and you say, yep, he's a professor. I always call the professors eggheads at universities and stuff, and he comes out, he's bald, and I see him, I'm like, okay, here we go. And then he starts talking, and he's like, well, he's an outdoorsman. Oh, okay, no, he's kind of a redneck, but he doesn't look like a redneck.
I love to fish, and I knew who he was because I catch his show on TV, and I thought, wow, this would be really neat, to work with this guy, because, I'm imagining him, he's such a character on his show, and he's basically the same guy in person.
I wish I could say it was on an alligator or on a fish, but I was cranking my power washer with my left hand.
You gotta change that story. It's that 11-foot gator, I had to pull the boat, 380 pounds.
I wish. He's the professor that you would want in every one of your classes because he is unbelievable. The relationship that we have is, I'm a fishing guide. I'll claim that just I'm a fishing guide. I can tell Todd what I've observed growing up and seen happening to the river, and he can go, and put it into scientific terms and make sense with it and present it to somebody and say, this is why we need money.
I could make the connection between water quality and the natural world, meaning that nature has a way of keeping things clean.
My original training was in chemistry, so this was all new to me when we started. One of the real important relationships we have with this program is that with our commercial partners. They have kind of pioneered all the techniques. I work a lot with Mike Sullivan at Premium Seafood. I mean, he's been doing this for 40 years, and the guy knows everything there is to know.
I approached Todd to work with me on a hatchery nursery project so we could get something going in this area, and we have, produced the shellfish that started this project.
The process of actually getting these clams from the Indian River Lagoon and growing them here is kind of lengthy.
One of the biggest challenges up front was finding broodstock from the IRL that had survived all of these environmental insults.
We had 4 guys down there with rakes, literally just scratching around for a week at a time for 8 weeks. And we found 39 clams. That's how hard they were to find. Used to be such a huge fishery there, so it was really unnerving to go to such lengths to find live clams. And so whatever survived that was really strong and adapted naturally to those conditions. So that's what we wanted to use to start this program.
That's why they're called a super clam.
That's why we named them the super clam.
This process, takes about 8 months. And then at the end of that 8 months, we have a product that is very healthy, and then we take them down to the Indian River Lagoon and we plant them out in the field. We hope that the prior work has really set the stage for them.
We getting ready for tomorrow?
Yeah, we are. We got 3 different sizes. We've got 12s, which he's draining down right now.
Okay.
We've got 15s over here, and we've got 18s over here.
These guys look good.
These are going in the river. 10,000 per bag, 10 bags.
I got involved with the Indian River Clam project through Facebook. I'm a recent transplant to Florida, and when I got here, I heard stories about how wonderful the river was, loaded with fish and wildlife. And although I've seen a lot of wildlife, I haven't seen a lot of fish. In fact, there's been a bunch of fish kills, and I thought, well, what can I do?
Last year, we put a big thing on finding home gardeners that would grow clams in little spots behind their house living on the river.
So I sent him a message and said, hey, I'd like to put some clams at my place.
I'll walk around and see where I got nets pulled up that there's nothing down there.
Okay.
And then we'll find spots.
We'll fill in.
Fill and
Okay,
plant them,
that works for me.
Let's plant some clams.
Let's plant some clams.
This reminds me when I used to get oysters as a kid.
Blair and Carrie, they really got the Clam Gardener program going.
A lot of people don't realize yet that the clams work, or that clams are even in there to filter the water. A lot of people don't realize that they went away. That's the really sad part.
Behind the scenes, you know, you take care of all the clam farmers. You and Todd are in the water.
He's my 7-foot 5-year-old.
Love your house. There's so much cool stuff in there. All the trophies, the boats, the pictures.
Yeah, wait till the alligator gets there.
Oh, yeah.
At least he's not doing a full alligator anymore.
I told him, I said, I want a pair of boots. You guys gotta hold me a scrap there.
The project's grown bigger than I could ever imagine. I think we had 6 or 7 people in the meeting room when we started, and now I couldn't tell you how many people are involved with the project.
I think there's 150 or something clam gardeners out there. The guys that are out there every day, following what they love to do, are seeing the demise of this ecosystem. So they naturally said, hey, we want to be a part of solutions. The beauty of that is that people learn about it, and they get hands-on, and they invest in it a little bit.
So it is like an annular ring. The annular ring are thick on the good years and narrow on the lean years. Yeah.
And those years could be seasons on the plant because they may be like feel that ridge? That was a stress event. So whatever stopped the growth, it stopped it like boom, they stopped.
You can see where we planted it. Is that size right there, about the size of your thumbnail. Amazing little creatures.
Just filter.
Our efforts over time now, it's changed a little bit because we, first thought that, hey, we're gonna go just spread clams out and make big, giant clam beds. Now we've shifted to broadcasting with a drone, which is absolutely incredible. We can put out like 3 to 8 million clams in a day.
So the drone that we used was set up originally as an agricultural spray drone. So I took that and took the spray apparatus off of it and designed the implement that you see on it now that deploys clams.
That means we got clams here that are spawning.
We can put out 1 million clams in 15 minutes, and we can cover acres and acres.
And we broadcast them so big and far out in between, we're going to be overcoming the predation because that's the main killer right now of the clams.
These guys smell them in the water so well. Not just these snails, the lobster, all these organisms can sense that. And that's kind of like ringing the dinner bell, So when we're out there working, we try to put those nets over really fast.
This just gives them another head start on life, what we're doing, putting them in here with the shells on them. So it protects them. We'll bring these nets out after about 6 months, and hopefully they'll be nice big clams and be able to survive a lot better. But now it's time to get cold and pin her down. Yeah.
I'm up here in St. Augustine in the laboratory. He's right down there on the water every single day. Lives right there. He grew up there. He knows what's going on, and the people recognize that, and they trust him. He's a local voice.
If you just moved here, you're gonna take a look at our river here and you're gonna say, oh, it's beautiful. You got the dolphins, you got the manatees, the mullet are jumping, and you got snook eating next to the dock over here. That's their baseline. They don't know what it was like 30, 40 years ago.
The public has day-to-day choices to make, and they have the power for change. Being aware is half the battle. Limiting the use of fertilizers in your yard, that's a big deal because all that stuff washes off. Florida soils don't hold nutrients. Getting off of septic and onto sewer systems is a big one. And just making smart choices, whether it be, supporting companies that invest in lagoon health, supporting local businesses that invest in lagoon health, that's a positive feedback loop for the project.
Our water quality is starting to come back slow, so we need the good amount of clams out there to get grown and start spawning and basically recover and get that 9.2 billion clams that were taken out by the commercial industry.
If I had an end point in this project or a dream scenario, our outcome would be that we don't need to do this work anymore. I mean, that's the definition of success, you know? If Captain Blair can be out on his boat one day and jump off the boat and find a patch of naturally occurring clams, we're done. We've done our job.
Back when I was a kid, finding clams like this in the areas where I told them to go and find clams, it used to take 5 minutes to fill a 5-gallon bucket. Now it took them 3 days to find 38, 39 clams. But hopefully here we'll be able to fill a 5-gallon bucket soon.